The end of the season just keeps getting more and more brutal for the Bulls. Not only have the Bulls been falling in the standings, they've suffered from injuries, and of course, now we know officially, even though I think we all knew this was coming, that Lonzo Ball will miss the rest of the season, which will include the playoffs. And it's a big blow to the Bulls, as I know there was always this thin sliver of hope that he would be back at least for the playoffs, especially since he had the surgery back in January and was scheduled to miss 6 to 8 weeks. Really, you thought he was going to be back for the last couple weeks of the regular season, but as you've been seeing from reports in recent weeks, Lonzo has not been responding well to the rehab on that knee that was operated on to repair the torn meniscus. The timeline kept getting pushed out, and today it was announced by the Bulls PR team that he'll be out for the rest of the season and start preparing for the 2022-23 season. Now, I do have some thoughts on this, which some of it I have shared previously, so I'll try to keep it brief, but I think this is actually more concerning than most people think and what the Bulls are letting on to. And I'm not intending this to be a doom and gloom type of take because I'm not that type of fan, and I think there is a lot to be said for how well the Bulls have done this season despite the circumstances, and making the playoffs for the first time in 5 years. That is a big deal. But the reason I think this injury to Lonzo is concerning is because we already know he had this exact same surgery to the same knee to repair the meniscus in 2018, the offseason after his rookie year, and history will tell you that players who have had to repair their meniscus twice on the same knee never come back as the same player. Dwayne Wade, as an example, had to have this surgery twice, and although yes, D Wade was an incredible player, he really never returned back to form after the surgery that he had the second time. Now, it's probably not the best example or comparison because Dwayne Wade is an all-time great, a future Hall of Famer, and Lonzo just is not on that level. And the other thing is that aside from Dwayne Wade, most players who have had multiple injuries to the same knee generally had it happen when they were a bit older. Like Lonzo is 24, so he has the gift of youth to hopefully be able to recover from this and still continue to get better as a player. But I'd be lying if I said this isn't a concern for a guy you signed to a 4-year contract to be your point guard for the future, when in every NBA season, he has suffered some sort of injury. Every NBA season. The most games he has played in a season was back in the 2019-20 season when he played 63 games. His rookie season, he played 52 games. His sophomore season, 47 games, just a little over half a season. Last season, he played 55 games, and then of course this season, just 35 games. Like, as good as Lonzo is and as impactful as he was for the Bulls when he was on the court, it doesn't really matter if he's not durable enough to be available to play for at least the majority of the season. And Lonzo's impact is there. Like, I think people forget all the intangibles he brought to this Bulls team and why they were playing so much better when he was in the lineup. Aside from being the Bulls' 4th leading scorer, averaging 13 points per game, he was the Bulls' best 3-point shooter, shooting 42%, which the Bulls have desperately missed a guy who can shoot well from deep to help space the floor. You need that when you have a guy like DeRozan who operates in the mid-range. But Lonzo was also a great playmaker and facilitator, especially with his ability to push the pace and play in transition, which the Bulls' high-tempo offense fell by the wayside after Lonzo got injured. Lonzo was also averaging 5.4 rebounds and 5.1 assists this season, and more importantly, Lonzo is an excellent perimeter defender, which of course we have seen the Bulls' defense crumble ever since he's been out. And before Caruso got injured, because quite frankly, he hasn't looked the same either since coming back, but the duo of Ball and Caruso in the point of attack defense was incredible in teams' ability to penetrate to the hoop and get open looks from deep. Lonzo was averaging 1.8 steals per game and 1 block per game, and it's also just his basketball IQ that gets overlooked at times. He's one of the smartest players on the court, plays like a veteran who has been in the league for 10 plus seasons. He's always aware of what's going on the court. He knows where to be at the right times and is great at directing his teammates on where they should be. So this is a big blow for the Bulls. Like, it's not just the fact that we missed Lonzo for more than half of the season that likely would have positioned us better in the standings to at least have home court advantage in the playoffs, but now to know he's not coming back for the playoffs to at least have the Bulls make it more of a competitive run with their team being fully healthy. And I guess I should put healthy in air quotes because we know Zach isn't 100% and neither is Caruso, but still, with Lonzo on the team in a playoff series, say against the Celtics, would make it an interesting one. And now, to be honest, I'm not sure if the Bulls win more than one game in a playoff series, no matter who they face. What I will say, though, is this. I do think shutting Lonzo down makes sense because why risk his long-term health for a likely first-round exit anyway? Rest him up, get that knee in order and have him ready for the following season. In addition to Zach Lavine hopefully getting 100%, considering he said he needs to address that in the offseason. Hopefully the Bulls make some additional moves in the offseason to round out the roster and they come back strong and hopefully show to be a title contending team next year. But there is definitely still a lot of work to be done. It's a good thing we drafted Ayo because I really don't know where we would be without him stepping up and playing that point guard role. Having Coby start there, I think, would have been a disaster alongside Lavine and DeRozan and Vucevic from a defensive perspective. But anyway, not a good news day for the Bulls right after a loss against the Bucks. Yes, they clinched the playoffs, which is great, but the playoffs likely aren't going to be that exciting for the Bulls this season unless they really take a hard look in the mirror and try to turn things around and using that as motivation to show that they're still a good team and compete with the best of them even without Lonzo. But I kind of have a hard time seeing it. Anyway, keep your heads up, Bulls fans. I know it's not easy right now. Also, I did want to say thank you to all for the kind words and support on my video from last night in which I announced that I'll likely be taking some time off with the birth of my second child coming at the end of the month. I'm always humbled by the overwhelming support that you guys show. It's really what makes this fan base so great. You guys are the best, and I'm looking forward to continuing growing this community. As always, guys, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.